Hello, hello. Let's see here. Get started here. Oh. Get started here. Turn on my audio so feedback doesn't bother you guys. Let's see. All right. Should be going live here. All right. All right. We got comments from Dennis. Excellent. In the house. We got comments from Dennis. All right. So, excellent. In the house. Hey, all right. You can hear me. Excellent. Because that's always the first challenge, isn't it? To hey, all right. You can hear me. Excellent. To get past the AV problems with these live streams. Every time I do this, it's always like I have to relearn partially because I don't do them every day, but also because they keep changing how the damn thing works. There are different versions of OBS I use for my studio software, as well as the different buttons and interface for YouTube always seem to cause some confusion all the time. Kind of discouraging to want to keep doing live streams because of this kind of craziness, but whatever. I'm bored. It's July 3rd, the day before Independence Day for those here in the United States. 4th of July is a big day for us, so I'm off all week, and because I live in the state of Illinois, don't get me started on politics, but state of Illinois, here we are, still under lockdown, unable to do anything. All holiday parties, gatherings, concerts, fireworks, all this stuff has been, get an echo, huh? Here, I'll back up a little bit. Maybe I was too close. Oh, there's a voice track going? Oh, I see what it is. Let's try that. Oh, I see what it is. I paused. They're showing a preview window here with audio going. I hope that's fixed. A preview window here with audio going. Is there still an echo? I hope that's fixed. A preview window here with audio going. Matt or Dennis or anybody else? Is there an echo? Dennis or anybody else? I'm in my garage, so I don't know if that's the echo you're talking about, or if there's an actual like second audio source. That's usually the more common one. So, but yeah, so as I was saying, there's nothing going on. We're stuck at home here on Friday. Got nowhere to go, nothing to do, no picnics, no parties. We're all in isolation still in this stupid state. So I figured, hey, why not have a couple live streams? Oh, still an echo. Damn. All right, hold on a minute. Why not have a couple live streams? Not sure where that's coming from. Let me see if I can. Oh, you know what? Let me see if I can. Oh, you know what? Is this better? I turned something else off. Is this better? Let's see. See, this sounded great in my preview stream earlier. Let's see. See, this sounded great in my preview stream earlier. Let's try this again. Audio, testing audio. Let's try this again. Audio, testing audio. Stupid crap. Hold on a minute. Just give me a minute here to look at some of my audio settings. Maybe I have another device here enabled. Why? Let's see. I'll tell you what. I'm going to put this mic on mute. I'll tell you what. I'm going to put this mic on mute. I'll tell you what. I'm going to put this mic on mute. Tell you what, I'm going to put this mic on mute. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put this mic on mute. And now I'm off mute. So if you heard me while I was on mute, I must have another microphone somewhere still active. If you heard me while I was on mute, I must have another microphone somewhere still active. All right. Well, that's too bad. That's what happens when you. This is what I was saying when I started the video. You have to fart around with AV streams every time you do this crap, because even though you use the exact same setup as before, something's changed either on YouTube, OBS, my computer. Something changed, right? Okay, no voice. That's good. So that means maybe the audio is just a reverb from the back of this. Maybe the audio is just a reverb from the back of this. All right. Well, anyway. It's a loop, huh? That's interesting. See, I got the. It's a loop. All right, let me pop out my live stream. See, I got the. There's something playing still, huh? My live stream. All right, let me look around. Playing still, huh? Oh, you know, ha 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 ha. Okay, I think I found it. I think I found a second web browser tab with the live stream playing for some dumb reason. I hope it's off now. So I'm talking, there should be no more reverb. I think I found the cause. It was a second tab on my Firefox browser that was actually playing the live stream. Got it? Good. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate your feedback. All right. So sorry. This is again. I reiterate. This is it caused a constant frustration with having to deal with this live streaming stuff. All right. So back to where I started. So anyway, welcome everyone. It is the 3rd of July, Independence Day. I'm completely bored out of my mind. I've been off all this week. I was on a short vacation to the Wisconsin Dells this week with the family. I got back Wednesday, and starting yesterday, I had nothing to do. State of Illinois, we're completely screwed here. We're still under lockdown orders, right? We can't go anywhere. All the summer concerts and festivals and fireworks and Independence Day celebrations that we do here in the U.S. On the 4th of July are all canceled in the state of Illinois. So here I am looking for something to do and figured let's hang out and chat for a bit. I got nothing on the agenda, really, other than just check in with you guys. So thanks for dialing in here on the Friday. So either you're off of work as well, or you're playing hooky at work. Let me go back to the top of the chat window because I noticed some people were starting to ask stuff already. But we got some folks from the UK here. Yeah. So this is our holiday weekend here in the U.S. A big one for us, right? And I got a compliment from Steve H. Good morning, Larry. Thank you for your videos and the awesome brew calculator. You're very welcome. That spreadsheet I've been developing for nearly 20 years now, almost 20 years probably. I started off with paper and pencil and just hand calcs and home brewing books, and started automating it with some spreadsheets, and just added on to it ever since. Nowadays, there's a whole slew of brewing software out there, but I'm old-fashioned. I like my version because it's more accurate than the other ones out there, and it does exactly what I want it to do, and it's mine, so there's a sense of pride there as well. That's a homegrown thing, and plus, since I know how it works, I can always tweak it and add onto it later, and so I like it too. Yeah, right. Let's see. Let me scroll down a little bit now. Lebanon. Oh, Henry, you're from Lebanon, Illinois? Okay, Lebanon, Illinois. I've been to Lebanon, Missouri. Never been to Lebanon, Illinois. Is that the western part of the state or the southern? Let's see here. I could try signing. Got a question here from Bearded Brewer. Hey Larry, do you cold crash or you pressure ferment? What are your steps if you don't mind? Really, I don't. I've always been a fan of the whole KISS mythology, right? Keep it simple, stupid. It's like I don't go through that extra cold crashing step prior to kegging. I actually just shorten everything, the timeline, and I cold crash basically in the keg. So I'll ferment things out, rack it to the keg, pressurize it, throw it into the fridge, and let it chill and carbonate for the next 5 to 7 days, right? And by that time, that cold crashing has already taken effect, and the first pour or two sometimes of the beer has that sludge in it, and then it's all good to go. So I don't, for the longest time, I never had a fermentation fridge up until recently, so that was what I had to do, and I still continue to do it because it's work for me. It's less work, really, right? But so no, I don't do a separate cold crash. I just do it as part of the kegging process. Let's see. Let's go down a little bit. Las Vegas is having a party. Yeah, I like Las Vegas. I wanted to go there too, but with all this instability of closing down and the threat of in Illinois of closing down airports and stuff is still kind of like a possibility. I'm not flying anywhere, although I'd love to. I've been driving everywhere, and even then we're kind of like violating our terms of stay-at-home nonsense that we're supposed to be doing here in this stupid state. Let's see here. Scroll down some here. Yep, Steve H. Yes, all right, good job, man. All right, thanks for the answer. Matt, yeah, it's working good. I got all your feedback here from. Carl's mentioning if I want to see fireworks or shoot them off in Morris. Well, that's interesting. Isn't that kind of violating the state executive order, whatever, from the governor? Like I care, right? But that's good, man. Fight the power, I say. Do it, man. Do it. Supervasculars drink. Oh, somebody's asking me another question. Our old fat retired dudes who only work part time. Well, I'm getting there. I still work full time. I'm getting fat, but I'm getting old, so not quite there yet though. Is that a heater or light hanging behind you from James? Oh, you're talking about, well, up here is my garage heater. That is just a grow light. I don't know which one you're pointing at, but that's what those are. Yeah, I have a garage heater directly over me and a grow light over behind me here. Let's see here. Drinking Hefeweizen. Recipe. In fact, I still have some of my Hefeweizen left that I brewed back in. Wow, was it that Wuhan Weiss beer I brewed back in March on that last live stream I brewed it that I did? I still got some tiny bit left. It's been lasting me quite a while, so I should go pour me up one soon. Do I do cooking videos anymore? Yeah, I love doing cooking videos. I cook all the time. Problem is finding time to do videos. If you noticed, I haven't even done many videos at all anymore. I used to put them out once every week or two. Now I'm lucky to do them maybe once every 6 weeks, month and a half or so. In the wintertime, nobody wants to see cooking videos when it's like dark at 4:30 and 10 below zero outside, right? So I usually have a hiatus in the winter, and then the summer, and then the spring comes, and then all hell breaks loose for my personal life here. I got birthdays in the family, kids, wife. I got Easter, Good Fridays, all this spring holiday stuff going on, spring sports, spring school activities for the kids. I got no free time whatsoever. Oh, hey, come on up.
Hey.
I'm just doing a live stream.
Okay,
Yeah, sure. Just go ahead and knock on the door there or whatever, or just go on and just announce yourself. And where was I there? So yeah, so anyway, and I'm finally getting back into cooking, but I'm doing all kinds of cooking indoors as well as outdoors, and I can't film in my house apparently because of the noise there. Can't film outside because of the noise out here. And hey, have fun. Oh, you're not going to ride? Hey, okay. So the opportunities to film are far and few now, because even when I do film outside, without fail, the only time I have to do cooking videos is when everyone else is outside doing their landscaping with their leaf blowers, lawn mowers, and 747s flying overhead or whatever from O'Hare down the street. It's like, and that's just, it's hard to do live or at least record audio on any video anymore nowadays. So the opportunities I have to do any kind of video, beer or cooking, have dwindled to almost nil, unfortunately. Wish that wasn't the case, but life gets in the way more often than you like it to. Question from Adam Broad. Why, Larry, what's the best homemade rub for smoked lamb? Well, I haven't done a whole lot of smoked ram either. Ram or lamb. Lamb is, no, I don't know, honestly. I usually do a lot of salt and pepper. I usually use mint, rosemary, herbs, those kind of things. With lamb personally, as far as any spices beyond salt and pepper, I'm more of an herb rub kind of guy. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Do you trip? Oh, I got a hidden comment from Ben Wilkinson. Sorry, I don't know why it hid your comment. You must have thought you were doing something nefarious. Do you trim your Coney keg dip tubes? I am removing 1/2 inch to keep the. No, I don't do. No, I don't, because just like I mentioned earlier, I just pour off the first glass, and I'm good to go. And I don't touch my dip tubes. I don't need to. I just pour off that first pour, and I'm good usually. brew day for some of you out there. Yeah, I was planning on brewing today or this weekend. It's going to be too hot. In fact, I might not be here much longer because the heat's starting to get hot out here. That's why I'm doing this live stream this morning. I might not brew at all this weekend. I was trying to brew for the past few weekends, and it just never works out. It just doesn't. I just need to like do it, and the hell with everything else on my list of things to do, right? Woodstock, Illinois. Nick, yeah, hey man, how you doing? Just up the street here, where they filmed the movie Groundhog's Day. For those who don't know that, with was it? What's his name? Bill Murray. Back in the '90s, that movie Groundhog Day. A lot of that was filmed there in Woodstock. That was kind of a cool thing. In fact, if you watch that movie again and look for the scenes where in the downtown square in the background, you'll see a sign that says Woodstock Jewelers or something in the background, just so you know it's not Punxsutawney or whatever that virtual town is or imaginary town is in that movie. Cool. So the question is, what PSI do I set my regulator to? Depends on the beer style, right? So if I want to do like a brown ale, I might set it down to like 8 PSI for a lighter carbonation. If I'm doing a Hefeweizen, I might set it up to closer to 3. I'm thinking of volumes. For me, it would be about 13 to 14 psi for Hefeweizen. Usually I shoot for right around 11 psi, right in the middle for most of my beers. I have secondary regulators on all my lines, so I can actually have a custom psi setting for every keg in my kegerator, which is nice because of that reason. So I can have different styles under different carbonation levels. Let's see. Chamomile tip from CJB for my layer garden. Yeah, man, that does work really, really well. I was skeptical as well because I'm not a big fan of like those shandy beers. They're like half lemonade, half beer, those kind of things. Ugh, so gross. So I thought, well, tea bags, but it was a tip someone gave me almost 20 years ago, and I've been using it ever since. Let's see. Larry, thank you for the advice from Mike. Emailed you about. You were asking the questions about the foamy beer, right? I get a lot of questions about foamy beer and how to fix it in draft systems, and not just from homebrewers. I get a lot of questions from people who just thought it'd be so cool to buy a kegerator, go buy kegs of beer because they thought it would be cheaper, which it's not. It's actually more expensive. And throw it in their house and drink draft beer all the time without even knowing about what it takes for like maintenance and tuning your draft system so it's balanced, right? And I was in the same boat. I'm sure most of everyone else was in the same boat when they first got their first kegerator and their first keg of beer, whether it be homebrew or commercially purchased. You throw it in there and you end up pouring all this foam, and you have to like do tricks like pull the check valve to vent the gas so it pours, to pouring a lot of foam and pouring it, all those ridiculous things until I realized that it was just an unbalanced system. Those draft systems that come from the store usually only have a few feet of hose, which is probably a quarter of what you really need to get a nice smooth pour. I don't know why they short you. I mean, the cost of vinyl tubing is so cheap today, or beer line, and the fact that they would skip on that is just shameful, but that's what they do. And you add a longer line to it, and it most of the time will fix your problems. I mean, if there's other problems with foam, there could be other contributing factors, like using a draft tower, a big no-no if you don't like foam. I mean, I have one. I have to use one because of the location and geometry around my bar. I can't put any other kind of fridge in there without one, so I pay that price. I know my first pour is going to have some foam in it. It just is what it is. Let's see. A few hours away from the first pour from Nick. Yeah, right. Lair Garden. You know what? That's an inspiration. I was going to brew a beer this summer or this weekend, last weekend. I just can't get around to it. But I was either going to do my Lair Garden because I like drinking summer beers, a blonde ale because I haven't done one of those in a while, or I was thinking more like a fruit beer. I was thinking more like a raspberry blonde or a raspberry wheat beer, maybe something like that for a change. I haven't done that. I would like to do something new, something different, right? This is what the hobby's about. You don't want to be doing the same thing. Well, I do and I don't want to do the same beers over and over because you can tweak them and fine-tune them and perfect them. But making the same beer over and over does get mundane and boring. And throwing a new curveball by brewing a new beer style or adding some ingredient you've never used before. Keeps things interesting, right? Let's see. Yeah, I'll get a lot of questions. Well, that's why I'm here, guys. Questions. I don't have any actual agenda here. Again, I was just bored out of my mind this morning or yesterday when I sent the poll out asking which day would work. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do this live stream right now, obviously, but maybe I think I'm going to, according to the poll results I got, a lot of people wanted me to do one on Sunday as well. So I may do this live stream again on Sunday. So if you're watching this recorded tonight or tomorrow and you wish you would have seen it live, you'll hopefully have a chance again on Sunday. Ooh, look at this. I got a $5, what do you call these things? Smart chats or super chats from CAK. Happy 4th of July. Best country on God's green earth. Trump 2020. Trump 2020. Hey, sweetheart. Yeah, man, for sure. Happy 4th of July to everyone, man. Even to those who aren't part of the U.S., happy 4th of July to you, because you have a 4th of July as well. It's just not the same holiday for you as it is for us, but it's a big one for us here. So thanks for the $5. You know, if you want to get my attention like that without having to wait your turn to go down the list, you can always do that super chat just like CAK here did. So yeah, man, absolutely. No, see, first time kegging. Oh, okay. I'm getting caught up on Mike's response about the foaming issue. All right. I changed my lines to your 10-foot recommendation for every keg. Too cheap not to. Exactly. I mean, for cents on the per inch or per foot, it's not a big deal to just buy a longer line. And even if you don't want to do the math or run your numbers through a spreadsheet like mine to calculate your optimal line length, just buy an extra long length. Buy a 20-foot length. See if that pour will make it worth your while. If it's too slow, then cut it down to 16 feet, 50, just kind of work at it, right? A little trial and error. But 10 feet I found to be, it was weird because back when I had my old Perlick taps, 10 feet was perfect. Then I bought these intertap faucets with the flow control, and I've been having problems with the flow control versions. I'm actually going back to the non-flow control versions, and even then with the intertap faucets I have now, they still cause more foam than the old Perlicks did. So I'm having to I've already had to extend my lines from 10 feet to like 16 feet already, just to get the same kind of performance I was getting with prior to the intertap faucets. And my theory behind that is that the intertap faucets have this shuttle thing they call it in the middle, geometry, right? So when the beer comes out, it has to go around this cartridge that's in the middle of the faucet, and I think it's causing some turbulence and foam there. That's just my impression. I heard they come out with a new replacement for the intertap. I think it's called Nuka Tap, I think it was. David Heath has got a review on his channel. I just watched it recently about it, and maybe they may have accounted for that foaming issue that the intertap faucets can introduce. But anyway, even a longer line helps slow down the flow enough so when that beer hits that intertap cartridge in the middle, it doesn't hit it with such force that it foams up a lot. But I've had to adjust a little bit. 48 watching, 9 likes. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it, man. For those who don't know, Beer Me to Enjoy, his name, Robert's his real name. I hope he doesn't mind me commenting on that. But he came out to that Chesterton brewery site visit I did back in February, and he hung out for the day with Chad and I and some other people, and we had a pretty good time, I thought. Right? Yeah. Cherry wheat beer. I thought about doing cherry wheat beer as well. I've not brewed a cherry wheat. Cherry can be a little intense though. I was going to do a little bit more on the raspberry side. I think raspberry is more along my wife's preference as well. So I was actually going to do a fruit blend of cherry, raspberry, and apple, and see how that turns out. Because there was and the inspiration for that actually comes from a beer that's no longer made. For those of you who've ever heard of New Glarus Brewery in Wisconsin, in New Glarus, Wisconsin, they for years had made a bunch of fruit lambic style beers. one of which was called Serendipity, and that Serendipity beer was made with Wisconsin cherries, raspberries, and apples. And that, I mean, to me, that was like the best fruit lambic I've ever had and ever found since. And they quit making it, so that's my motivation now to brew a beer like that. I've never made a lambic before. Fruit I've only used sparingly in past beers. I never made a real full-blown fruit beer like I'm going to here now. So it'll be something new for me to learn, something to experience that's new as well, and that's part of the fun part of the hobby, right? So somebody's doing Mike's doing a Hefeweizen Franken. I can't pronounce that, of course. Any advice on brewing and fermenting Hefeweizen? I've done a number of Hefeweizens now. I've also read up about it before doing them, and I do concur with the advice I've gotten on this. So the advice I'll pass along is, yeah, there's some advice. Now, I brewed a Hefeweizen. My first Hefeweizen was a single infusion mash beer in my cooler systems, right? And that worked out. That turned out great. I mean, I loved it. You tasted some clove, tasted some banana. It was a very weedy beer, very yeasty, very refreshing, and very highly carbonated. Then, since then, I took some advice where I would switch to a step mash schedule. So there is a step mash schedule now that I do for my Hefeweizens. I think it's a ferulic acid rest at around 110 or 113 degrees, somewhere along that lines, for a period of time. And what that does is that it coaxes out some of the more, well, not at the moment, but what it does is that it mashes it to the right conditions so that the yeast, when they chomp on this sugar later, they tend to eke out more of the clove characteristics I've seen, right? So that helps. Now you can I've also done this before where you can get those clove characteristics out of a slightly cooler fermentation, so like in the low 60 degree Fahrenheit range. But that counteracts the other thing I've been doing, which is trying to get some more banana flavor out of it as well. And the banana flavors I found are coaxed out at warmer fermentation temperature. So what I've done, if I was doing a single infusion mash and not doing a step mash, I would do my best to get them both out by fermenting for the first several days at the lower range of the fermentation, and then moving the fermenter to a warmer room and raising the temperature to closer to like 70 degrees for the rest of the fermentation, and that seems to really coax out the banana flavors. But if you have the ability to step mash, you can do that ferulic rest for the clove, and then ferment on the warmer side for the banana. And the last batch I did, that I still have some left, oh man, it is amazing. It is so good. Let's see. So comments from Matt Johansson. I'm sorry, a little higher from CAC. Cleaning the beer lines was not worth it. New lines, clean. Yeah. It's a mixed bag for me because of the draft tower. It's such a pain in the ass to cram 3 beer lines up there. Right? It's a really tight space, and to undo those little hex nuts, those little thin nuts in there, and I got fat sausage fingers basically. So getting in there to do that fine work is a pain in the ass to me. So I clean more often, so I don't have to change the lines as often. But I still do both. I clean the lines after every keg change, as well as about every 2 years I probably change lines. Yeah. Let's see. So, a comment now from Matt Johansson. I had the same problem with both types of intertaps. That was a comment about the both types of intertaps. I'm sorry, the full control and without. But a line adjustment helps. Yeah, and that's what I said before, right? I just went with a longer line, and it all set it. I'm not sure why that mattered, other than my hypothesis that the intertaps have that cartridge in there, and that causes turbulence, and therefore that turbulence causes the CO2 to come out of solution and foam up. And with the flow control, that's made it even worse because you're making that beer hit that little pinhole opening and foam out even more. So in fact, I did a video on that topic. I'm not sure if my point got across after looking at the comments afterwards, but my current take, or my take back then, that I didn't probably expand upon very well, was is that you really, I mean, flow control faucets are like, to me, are more of a fine tuning device, not a band-aid for an unbalanced system. So, you know, the flow control faucets really only work great if you have an existing balanced line system, and maybe you want to just tweak it, fine tune it a little bit, but not as an override for a unbalanced line system. Let's see here. Okay, Ben Wilkinson, he made a stand-up fridge into a kegerator with intertap faucets, no flow control, adding 12 to 15 a line based on your video. And and I'm assuming that works great. In fact, that's my ideal scenario. That or a chest freezer, right? Because I can put the taps right on the door or the wall, and not have a draft tower, which will always add some amount of foaming. So that's my ultimate goal someday, is to get rid of the draft towers and do something like what you did. Let's see, wheat kits. Peach wheat, Robert, yeah, you got some kits. Yeah, I've never purchased kits in my life, except for a wine kit or two that I've done some videos on. I've always started off with extract brewing right out of the gate, because I had a neighbor that turned me on to this stuff back then, and he showed me the ropes of what to buy, the dry malt extract over here, the hops over here. So we kind of did my first batch a la carte, basically. I never actually bought a kit, so I probably should do one just for the experience, but I don't need to, I guess, so maybe I won't. A question from Supervascular here. Any other brewers on here? A Fruity clone would be good to see. What's Fruity? It's a strawberry. I'm sorry, I should have read right on. It's a Belgian strawberry wheat beer for anyone who hasn't heard of it. That would be interesting. A Belgian strawberry. I'd just be happy to do any kind of fruit beer right now. I just gotta block out a day to do it. I got some comment from Joshua. Great videos, Larry. Tons of advice on barbecue and beer. Enjoy watching when I can, and I enjoy making them when I can. It's just been increasingly harder to get stuff done because it's all about trade-offs. Even doing this right now, I'm ignoring something else that I need to be doing. And after having done this channel for over 8 years now, I have a pretty big backlog of things I've been blowing off that are finally starting to haunt me. Finally, home repairs, kids getting ready to go to college, wanting to move, buy a new house, move out of state. I got to start doing that. I mean, just all kinds of big picture things I've been blowing off, and it's starting to come back to haunt me all at once here. So time is shrinking by the month, it feels like, but I like to do it when I can. Steve H has ordered the Anvil Foundry. Curious how I would customize the brew calculator to fit the parameters of the device. Well, it's no different than any other brew system. You just go to the brew setup tab and input your inputs or your parameters for your system, right? I mean, you go about and you measure your losses. You do a test boil for an hour or whatever and see what your boil off rate is. You pour water down into the bottom and pump it out or drain it out and see how much is left as your losses for like your boil kettle, for example. So those kind of things. You just go through the motions and take good notes of what your losses are, and then when you go to brew with the real beer, you'll not be exact right, but you'll be close. And then using that close numbers, you can refine those input parameters yet again to account for a real brew day and use those going forward. That's what I do whenever I change systems, and I've done that a number of times, right? I went from my 5-gallon round cooler system to my 10-gallon round cooler system to the Grainfather now, the 5-gallon Grainfather, as well as the Spike back here, that big brew in the bag system. So each time I do it, I gotta start over and do exactly what I just told you to do and measure out what my losses are, or calculate them, estimate them, whatever you feel like doing. I actually just, like I said, pour the water in as water, measure what's left in the bottom of the kettles, do a test boil, calculate the boil off rate, and all those things. And that's what you should be doing anyway with any brewing software you use. I don't take any of those presets and those brewing packages for granted. I mean, it's a good starting point, but I don't take them for granted. I always wanted to like trust but verify, right? Yeah. Oh, thanks, Mike. He says, Larry, keep up the good work. All right, thank you very much. And Ben asked the same question, so I hope I answered the question well enough for you. Let's see here. I mean, I could probably, if there's time today and we're done with questions, I could probably open up the spreadsheet and walk through some of that with you here. But I just got to open it. I hope I have a copy here. I think I do. Let's see. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to read and get caught up here a little bit here. Let's see. So we got someone who's doing well. Nick here who says he's got a 20-foot line and refrigerated glasses, gives them no foaming issues, even from the draft tower. So that's good. That's good. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? Is to not have foam issues. So you got lucky there. Must have a cheap kegerator. So I'm wondering how well insulated your tower is versus the one, because I had a cheap one from Home Depot that just had an open cavity below the tower for cold air to eke up into, and it wasn't very well insulated at all. And I had to add a whole bunch of my own foam, pipe foam insulation in there just to thicken it up. And that didn't help too much. It helped a little bit. And then I got my new one, my Kegland Series 4 that I have. And the insulation there was kind of Spartan too, right? So I had to put some more foam in there as well. But at least that one came with an airflow hose that takes some of the cold air from the cooling fan inside the keg and blows it up into the tower. And that helped too, but it didn't solve it completely. There's still a little bit of foam in there. And that's to be expected. If the beer's sitting there overnight, your tower is going to be warmer than the keg. So you're going to lose some carbonation out of solution because it warms ever so slightly, ever so much of that gas comes out of solution, and now it's all in that headspace, and it's just unavoidable unless that tower is the exact same temperature as what's in the keg, which most of the time it's not. So I think you got to keep her then if it's working that way for you. My friend is playing fly down to Texas every day on Spotted Cow. They sell Spotted Cow in Texas? I thought they only sold it in Wisconsin. We have to drive to Wisconsin to get it. And I was there this week, so I got it there. While I was up there, they don't sell it out of Wisconsin, as far as I know. That's interesting. In fact, Spotted Cow, yes, I did clone it. That was my COVID cream ale that went bad on me, that I dumped. I posted some pictures of that on Facebook or Instagram or both, whatever, a few weeks ago. I brewed a batch of my COVID cream ale inspired by Spotted Cow. I can't say it was an exact clone because I never got the chance to drink it because it turned brown on me. It got oxidized, and it got oxidized while it was sitting in my lagering fridge for 2.5-3 months, waiting for a spot in the keg or the kegerator. So it dropped super clear, which was good because it lagered for that long, but it was brown. It was supposed to be a not Munich Helles. It was, I'm getting mixed up. I did brew the cream ale, but I dumped that because the Spike brew in the bag steam lid that I did that video on backwashed all my cooling water that had chlorine in it because we get chlorinated water here into the kettle and ruined the beer. It tasted, it was so bad. I dumped it. The other beer I mentioned was a Munich Lager that turned brown. That was not what my clone was for. That was a whole nother thing that I should probably do a follow-up video on just to talk about oxidation in beer because I was pissed about that. And just to let you know, that oxidation I believe came from a loose fitting carboy cap that I got or had that didn't fit on the 5-gallon carboy all that well, and I think it over time let air in and it just oxidized. So it's a public service announcement. Make sure you have tight fitting carboy caps because apparently I did not in that instance. But yeah, I will try to make another COVID cream ale again. Just not in the mood for it right now. I do have the recipe though. If you want to see it, I guess I can probably put it somewhere. But I can't vouch for its greatness because I haven't had a chance to drink it. All right, let me see what we got here. Let's see, just a cheap piece of foam there, no internal fan. Okay, yeah, so I guess you got lucky there. Just hope it doesn't over time become an issue. And also, I noticed with those draft towers, because they're slightly warmer than what's in the fridge, they get a lot more mold and stuff growing in the beer line up by where the tap is, furthest from where the cold is. So, which makes you have to soak your lines longer to clear it out or change your lines more often. I am just not a fan of towers, just not. But I got one, so I got to deal with its hassles. A comment here from Matt saying, yes, oxidation video, please. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Let me let me edit to my backlog of videos that I have to eventually do, because I already have videos I filmed back in March and April that I still haven't even finished editing to post yet. And now it's July, and I still got to finish those videos and see, so you can kind of get a feeling for how far behind I am with staying on top of this stuff. But oxidation video, yeah, that's a thought of mine, because I still got the beer in the keg, because I haven't actually dumped that yet, because I actually thought about maybe doing a video showing what it's like. So probably should do that soon so I can dump that beer. MJ Haas, hey, welcome, man. Happy 4th to you as well. Let's see. How did the tap water get into my beer? Okay, yeah, well, you can go back. Don't do it now because I'm talking. But if you want to go back and see that video, I walked through the entire process as to what happened. But so I did a video on the steam condenser lid, and I go into much detail on that. But in summary, they sent me a defective part for the piping. So rather than the steam coming out of the kettle and going down the pipe and out into the bucket, my cooling water from my garden hose attached to municipal water, which is chlorinated to kill zebra mussels in the line, which are an invasive species in Lake Michigan, that spray water actually, that cooling spray water in that device actually went across the piping and into my vessel. It actually added about a gallon of new chlorinated water to my beer. I should have lost a gallon or more of boil off. I gained like a gallon or something. So, I mean, I probably gained 2 gallons then because of the loss of the steam plus the addition of the new water. Like the net gain was about a gallon for that batch of beer, and that was plenty enough to ruin that batch of beer. And unfortunately, I found out that they sent me a faulty welded piping, because it was a prototype is what they sent me, not the production model. So when you make prototypes, what they do a lot is, well, they actually, fashion things up in a ad hoc way. They'll come up with a fixture, some blocks. They'll kind of approximate how they want things to weld, or how far they want to bend a pipe or a tube, and they just screwed up. I mean, it is what it is. They should be fixing that in the production model. That should be out soon. Okay, let's see. I got a comment from Joshua. Oh, I'm sorry. He loads up his airplane from about the spotted cow, and brings it to Texas. I got it. Aha. Yeah. That makes sense. Because spotted cow is only available in Wisconsin, as far as I knew. So, okay. Thanks for your pointers, Larry. I took on brewing again over the last 6 months, and your info has been indispensable. Yeah, you're very welcome. I actually want to get back into doing more brewing basics type videos. I've been looking at some of my, because I haven't been making videos, so I've been doing some thinking and review of what I've done up to this point. As sort of a placeholder for my time to figure out where I should be going next in the future. And I've noticed I've been doing more and more product centric videos because everyone wants to see the new shiny gadget that just came out, and that's a motivation for a lot of people who want to watch my channel, that they want to see the new stuff. But there's a lot of us and you out there who just want the basics, right? And I've been not keeping up with that the past 6 months or maybe a year or more. So I want to get back to doing more of a basic tips and tricks videos. This is my 20th year brewing. So I was going to do a brewing series on how to brew for newbies without equipment. Like I started brewing, and maybe like many of you started brewing. I was going to do a basic extract brewing, concentrated wort boil, stovetop brew, right, series to walk through how to get started in brewing. And then I was going to look for spots where for some more tips and tricks on some basic brewing advice, because honestly I can't brew beer as much as I had been in the past. This time doesn't allow for it. So rather than not making videos because I can't brew and make brew videos, I was going to start maybe doing some more like educational type videos around brewing, and not actually brew, but more like a chalkboard, whiteboard sort of thing, and see how that works for a bit. So we'll see. I still got to find time to even do that too. Let's see. Questions. A nice old school style video of coolers will be great. Yeah, exactly. That's how. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, Roderick. A lot of people get turned off when they see all the big shiny pieces of kettles and pumps, and people who've converted entire rooms into brew houses, and they think that they have to do the same, and they can't afford it, don't have the space, and they walk away kind of frustrated. That's not true at all. I mean, I think I did a video a couple years back on a small batch brewing the bag brewing, where I brewed on my stove with a sous vide stick and a small pod and a small fermenter and things, right? Just to show how it can be done cheaply, right? So you're right. There should be more of those. That's kind of what I'm kind of thinking about a little bit too. Joshua says the basics videos really tuned up my process to make tasty beers. Yeah, right. And that's what I want to get back to, is some of those back to basics, the ABCs, because you can buy the most expensive equipment and still make crappy beer. You can do it. It's very easy to do, but you can make very good beer with very cheap equipment. It just requires some knowledge and know-how and experience. Let's see. Okay, so I get a lot of comments about doing the new videos. Okay, all right, that's probably what I'll focus on this summer and fall as time permits. Okay, good. Well, that's probably what I'll do. A question here from MJ Haas. What do you think of how to make a hard seltzer with different flavors? This is great. I love these fad topics. All right. I mean, honestly, how many of you just a couple short years ago or less even knew what a hard seltzer was, right? I mean, it's like this whole marketing blitz, right? I mean, I've known about this stuff for decades, right? I've heard about it. It's not been popular, but now we got these like White Claw. Is it White Claw or some of these other ones? I mean, back in the 80s, it was Zima, right? Which was a popular thing back in the late 80s, and some other ones, right? And I'm all for flavored hard seltzer or whatever, right? I just find it funny that these fads come along, these crazes, right? And it's just interesting to see them come and go over time. But I thought about it, but it's like I got a lot of things on my plate I want to do. I want to make some cider from scratch. I don't want to do any more kit ciders. I want to crush my own apples, right? So I'm shopping for some fruit presses and things and some crushers. Right, and I want to get back into winemaking again, and also into presses and things to make that job easier. I made one batch of wine in the past few years, and that was a kit wine last year. That I did that one video on the wine kit, and that's because I couldn't get my hands on real grapes because I was too busy making videos on beer making and other things. And the year before that, I was busy making videos on my 10-gallon DIY brew system nonstop, which I missed my shot then. So I think my focus this year is not going to be on hard seltzer. It's going to be on wine again, getting back into wine making, hopefully some cider making and some fruit beers this summer. And that's, I think, my current path. But that can always change, right? Yeah, Zima. Yeah. So from Mike Cornelius, hi Larry, I just got the Grainfather 30. So I've been watched your brew sessions, great inspiration. What's your overall opinion on the Grainfather? Well, you may have seen me using it less and less. It's okay. I mean, it's fine. It was probably one of the first, or maybe the first, mostly in one brew in the basket systems that when it first came out, it was revolutionary, because prior to that, we were doing what I was doing before that, which was using coolers and burners and kettles and pots and all this stuff, when you can get a nice single, mostly in one brew system. I say mostly because it's not all in one. It's just marketing hype. You still need a hot liquor tank, right? So it's not all in one. But anyway, but it's a small footprint device, self-contained. I love all of that about it. Some of the downsides that have turned me off to it since then have been the weak pump that's included with it. The cloud, the recipe sync thing's a piece of crap. Over time it started off fine, I thought, but then I saw it just get worse and worse, and I went back to using my spreadsheet again with it, which is fine if you use it in manual mode and use some other brewing software. I would recommend that. The fact that it was only 120 volt and not 240, since I upgraded to 240 volt brewing recently with the Spike brew in the bag system, I am just blown away by how well it can heat water compared to the 120 volt system. So it took a lot longer to heat up, and I rationalized that by just saying, well, while it's heating up, I could be doing some cleanup or the next step or grinding some grains. So that wasn't so much of a big of a deal. But once I saw how fast you can heat water up with a 240 volt system, I was like, okay, I'm done with my excuses for it, right? But there's nothing wrong with it other than I think it's just underpowered. It comes with a counterflow wort chiller, which I'm a fan of the immersion styles for a number of reasons. So I can convert. In fact, I actually do have an immersion chiller for it from Jaded Brewing. Do I have it back here somewhere? Yeah, I got it back here somewhere. I think it's back. It's back behind the Spike, but so I've switched to using an immersion chiller with it, and I've had to buy a Robo Brew false bottom to help keep the pump from clogging underneath, because that was a constant hassle. So, but it was fine. There's nothing majorly wrong with it. It's just that when it first came out, it was the only one of its kind. Now it's 5-6 years later. Now it's there's so many options out there that are so much cheaper. They come with, some of them, like the Robo Brew, come with an immersion chiller for it, and those kind of things. So it's just personal preference, but I would still use it. I still have it. It's just I've been trying to show you guys some other stuff on my channel, and not always do Grainfather videos, because I started off as a DIY brewing channel, and I found myself using the Grainfather a lot in these videos. And it turns out I kind of want to go back to my roots a little bit. But then the Spike Solo came along, and it was like, oh boy, new toy. So I've been playing with that this spring as well. All right, but I don't know. I mean, I'll keep it. I'll still use it. I'm just not sure how often and when and what for right now. Sorry for the long-winded answer. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing to throw away. It's fine. It's fine. I don't mean to poop on it or nothing. What I have heard and seen, though, is that the new version of the Grainfather is a piece of crap, from what I've seen and heard and read. So I don't know if I would suggest that. The G70, I think it is. There's a lot of other options out there that are better, I think, from what I've read, and cheaper too. Okay, so also, I'm sorry, I keep going back about the Grainfather. The one major thing I didn't like about it, honestly, was its proprietary nature, right? So if a part goes bad, you're fully dependent upon and now this is true of all these mostly in one systems, I imagine, is that they have proprietary control panels, proprietary pumps, proprietary whatever, and if they go out of business, because a lot of them don't stay in business long, or they get bought out and they quit making that model, and then you're out, and then you're SOL on spare parts. And that was one of the things that actually did appeal to me with the Spike e-brew in the bag, or the Spike Solo, is that although that comes with a control panel, it's made with parts that you can get, COTS parts, commercial off-the-shelf parts that you can actually buy to replace or upgrade or do whatever you want to it. And even if Spike went out of business in 10, 20 years, it should be able to still make the thing work, because you can just go out and buy commercial off-the-shelf parts to replace the ones that may fail. Okay, did you hear YouTube suspended CraigTube's channel? No! Get out of here. Seriously? Hold on a minute. I mean, actually, I do believe it, but only because I lost about a half dozen of my favorite YouTubers this past week as well from the YouTube hammer swinging, which has got me a little sour on YouTube right now. Let me see. CraigTube, you said? Hold on here. Let's see. CraigTube. I did not know that. Let's take a look. What the heck? I did not. Does anyone know any details? Because he was the largest home brewer, or he was the largest brew tuber on the internet, and I was the second. So if he's off YouTube now, I'm the largest brew tuber on YouTube, which scares the hell out of me. I didn't think I'd be the leader because someone else got axed. I was wanting to be the leader because I was better and got the growth. That's unfortunate. Oh, man. So, okay, so that's interesting. So the other half of your comment, all my videos are backed up. Yes, they are, because what I do, and I don't know if you guys were interested in me doing a studio tour someday. I know a lot of channels do their studio tour and they show you what they're doing with their background equipment and stuff, but I'm in IT, so I know how important backups are. So not only do I have backups, I have backups of backups. In fact, I will render out a full high-resolution video, gigabytes in length, and I'll archive it on one disk drive, archive it on a second disk drive, and then that drive gets archived to my NAS on my home network, my network attached storage, which is a RAID 5 disk array, right? And then, but once a year, I take all those videos and I burn them to Blu-ray. So I have like 4 or 5 versions of all these videos. So I have no worries at all about losing my content. But the question is, why did he lose his content? That is so frustrating, because I got other YouTubers I watch, which aren't even brew tubers, and he's a brew tuber. Why did he get banned? I know others get banned because of their topics. I mean, I'm a big gun nut, right? I love my firearms. I got stickers and gun gear all over this garage, as well as my brewing equipment. But and a lot of those channels have been banned. Current events YouTubers that I love to watch, with 1 million subscribers or more, have been banned for speaking truth about what's going on nowadays in current events. The censorship's amazing, and that's actually, which leads me into a small rant about. Unfortunately, I'm on YouTube because that's where everyone goes to, as their go-to to go watch content they want to see, like including the stuff that I post, right? So, and they pay a pittance, but they pay with advertising revenue that helps fund my equipment, my microphones, my cameras, my computers, my expenses, and gives me a little extra money that they tax the hell out of because of my tax bracket that I barely see at the end of the year. Right, and for all the trouble to do this content, I don't make a whole lot of money on it. Get taxed the hell out of it for it, and And I'm kind of sour on YouTube because of all this censorship nonsense that I've been doing to all my favorite YouTubers. And it makes me less inclined to want to make content for them, honestly. I mean, I have been looking behind the scenes at other platforms like BitChute and DTube and Vimeo or some other ones, but none of them offer any kind of monetary compensation for all this work. And what I do make isn't much, but it's enough to help self-fund this thing, right? And if I switch all the way over to there, no one's going to watch my content there. I won't make any money except through donations, and I make hardly anything through contributions now, right? So but given all that, I'm a little disinclined, I'm probably greatly disinclined to want us to continue to support YouTube for this kind of nonsense that they're pulling on us here. And I'm loath to want to do stuff for them, so I'm kind of torn. It's like, do I spend more of my highly valuable personal time making content for you guys because I like to share knowledge and stuff, right? But it does incur a cost to me to do so, time and money, and while supporting a platform that has got me really irked right now. Right. And the same goes for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you notice, I don't post on Twitter hardly at all anymore. Facebook I do, Instagram, but mainly just to post either announcements about live streams like this and things like that. It's just because of they just censor people, and I'm tired of it. I'm sorry, I'll scroll down if anybody has any comments as to what they have heard, but that's fascinating. That is fascinating. Poor CraigTube. I would like to know why. Cider from scratch, yes, man. That was my goal last couple of years. Last couple of years, though, as everything comes and happens in life, life gets in the way, and I wanted to make my own press. A DIY press that didn't cost $1,000 that I can fold up and tuck away and hang on a wall because space constraints, right? All the ones I've seen are either really large crushers and they take up a lot of space, or they cost a lot of money. And for a hobby, you're not sure you want to put that kind of investment into it. I've been thinking about finding ways to do it myself, but time gets in the way, of course, and just gotta push everything aside and make the time, I guess. Make a graph beer cider hybrid. I've never heard of graph, but I've heard of hybrids, right? I mean, mead hybrids are popular, right? I've made mead in the past, and they would mix meads with different types of like wines and other alcohols, and they call them they were no longer called meads. They were called by a certain other name like that, right? And so maybe that's what a graph is, kind of a hybrid beer cider hybrid. That's interesting. Not sure if I want to make a whole 5-gallon batch of that to find out whether I like it or not. I may have to go seek out examples of it first, right? Let's see. Immersion with Whirlpool. So, okay, Matt Johansson's a fan of the immersion method as well. And again, this is, guys, I'm not knocking Counterflow chillers and plate chillers. I'm just sharing what I prefer, much like everyone wants to share why they like one over the other. I've given my reasons and rationales in the past as to why I prefer immersion chillers. There's no advantage to a counterflow or plate chiller for a home brewer at the scale that we're brewing right now. I mean, the whole speed argument is offset by the extra time it takes to clean, sanitize, and prep and put away the chiller when you're done with it, right? So yeah, you may get a 5-minute chill, but now you spend a half hour flushing, cleaning, and draining the thing before and after brew day, like I've been discovering. It's actually time consuming. So the overall time, I don't think you save, but this is my opinion and my experience talking. And I mean, I could be wrong. Of course, I am human. Let's see. I should see if I can get an anvil forge for a review video. It can be switched between 240 and 120. Oh, yeah, I've read that. Yeah, I would like to get my hands on gadgets, right? But again, I mentioned earlier, I'm torn because I don't want to be the channel. It's not selling out, right? But companies send you stuff because they want to get. It's like a trifecta problem, right? We got 3 points of a triangle, right? You have me as the creator. You have you on one corner as the viewer, and another corner of the triangle are the sponsors or companies or people wanting to make money off of this, right? The interaction between you and me, people want to make money off of, but then so the creators are incentivized to create content that people want to see by showing the gadgets and stuff that people are searching for. So ultimately, it's the viewer searching for these things that drives this kind of stuff. It's not the YouTuber selling out. It's not the companies hawking their wares. That's the problem. It's the YouTube viewer ultimately that drives all this behavior, because most of people who go on there, they'll go on and they'll search XYZ review or Anvil Forge review, and the creators know that's what gets views, and people drawn to their channels, so then they make content on it, and then the companies take advantage of that by offering to give you stuff so they can get the marketing in. So it's kind of like this trifecta, or this triad of interdependency going on here, and I've seen too many channels, not necessarily brewing, but other content. Like a lot of the cooking channels I've seen have devolved into, look, I'm making ribs on XYZ cooker. Oh, look, I'm making ribs on XYABC cooker or whatever, and it kind of gets long in the tooth. I mean, been watching and doing YouTube for 8 years now. It gets tiring to see, and if it bores me to see it, I have to assume that kind of content starts to wear on some of you as well. And I want to get back to a more balanced channel where I have a mixture of these kind of contents, of the reviews and the demos, as well as the basics. Even the DIY stuff I need to get back to doing more of again, because I kind of like the satisfaction of making your own equipment, right? But I would do an anvil if one came my way, but I would want to work it in such a way that it's not yet another shiny gadget video. Let's see. Yeah, so one for the backlog. Yep, you betcha, bud. All right, I'm getting caught behind here. I'm getting like behind my list of comments here. I'm talking too much. Yeah, he posted on Craig Talks channel. See, I didn't know he had a Craig Talks channel. Hold on a minute. I gotta go find that Craig Talks channel. See, I've only got one channel, and I never opened a second channel. I can barely keep up with one. Okay, hold on, guys. Just stay with me here for a little bit as I scroll down to the list here. Oh, this is an interesting comment. So you tried to post a video or a link to the channel, Father Corey? Okay. Well, I just wrote it down, Craig Talk. So I'll look it up later. The next comment from Rodney: a South African couple brewed their own beer and passed away from poisoning from their brew. Any thought as to what happened? Well, I think I read the headline about that, and I looked at it, and it was all BS. I mean, they got poisoned, all right, but it wasn't from anything from brewing. I mean, there's nothing in beer that can get you, that can kill you. If you brew beer, nothing bacterial or whatever can survive, from what I understand, in there. If it's been fermented out, alcoholed out, you may get sick, you may get food poisoning, whatever, but it won't kill you, right? The only thing that can get you sick are like getting things into the beer that aren't natural, that aren't from the grain, that aren't from the yeast. Things like toxic metal exposure, right? So what kind of equipment were they using? What kind of cleaners were they using? Did they rinse them out? I did remember seeing a headline to that effect. I just don't remember what I read, but I think I read through it and called BS on it, because it's not the brewing process that did it. It was something else they did. I can't remember what it was. I'll have to go maybe look up that detail again, but I mean, people have been brewing beer for thousands of years, right? In clay pots and kettle cauldrons, and I mean, I don't know. I'm curious too as to what that cause was. Now I just can't recall what it was. So, all right. So what time is it here, guys? Because it's already been over an hour. I was actually going to try to keep this to an hour, because I'm going to try to do this again on Sunday for another hour. So I don't see any more questions or anything here that I need to answer at the moment. So thanks for calling in here on the 3rd of July. What a great weekend. Hopefully it should be a little warm and humid here. I've got nowhere to go again because being in this crappy state of Illinois where we're still under lockdown, can't do anything, can't go anywhere. There's nothing to like celebrate. But I will be cooking here. I'll be drinking here, and maybe planning up my next recipe or video while I have some downtime. All right. So thanks for hanging out. And if you're around Sunday late morning, I'll probably do it then too. All right. See you guys. Let's see. In stream. Oh, yeah, end.